beginning the use of the studio room at Spielenhus. This is us to do this. So since this is a recording, we shall say names with Ron.
Modes.
Leonard.
Camilla.
Okay, excellent. So we have this game called Levied Souls, which is by Jeffrey McNeil. He is an American living in China. I know everybody knows how many dark fantasy games do we have right now, especially here in Sweden. There's a dark fantasy game everywhere. So you say, oh, okay, grim dark fantasy. All right.
Dark Souls, the board game.
Right. So now he is making this game, and it fits, but he's kind of philosophical. So he actually really is pushing that concept pretty far. So it might not be just any dark fantasy. It just doesn't have, zombies. It's actually much more about these moral crises of your character. The world begins at what is called Twilight. And then it moves through phases, and you can be playing in the end times of the world later. So it's got some Michael Moorcock in it. The world is going down, and your own souls get more powerful in magnitude, but morally they get darker and darker and darker. So it has these mechanics for that. So it's also pretty damn complicated. One of the important things is how much player power there is in determining the setup for the story. Because this game has everything to do with the player commitment to what they brought. Without that, we can't play this game. So I even tried. And I looked at it and said, no, they are just going to be my little puppets if I do this. The game is built for you to matter.
Sometimes to try it out.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, and I got partway through some characters, and it's too much. It's too much about you. So this is a map of the world, and it looks like most fantasy maps.
Yeah.
And there are 4 basic regions over to the west with Tyr and Koitia. Koitia is kind of this is very much a mashup of ancient Rome, but also some later European religious fanatic history. So this is the big religious empire here, and they are connected to these isles, which are a little more wild, but have been culturally eaten by it. So these are more like ancient Greeks, but culturally, but this is pretty much a big Protestant crazy religious empire. And then the Nordics up there are fairly barbaric and a bit stereotypical, but not too stereotypical. They're more like historical Iron Age Nordics, and not romanticized or funny or anything
That's
like
a true
that.
Vikings word.
Yeah, a little more meaty than that. Here we have a wonderful, ancient, decadent, semi-oriental, necromantic situation. And then in here we have wild and free tribesmen running around on horses with very powerful bows. You get the idea.
Could it be Could it be the Tartars?
I would say almost down to the mustache, yes. And then here in the middle we have Romania. And what's kind of fun is that he has the nations, the nominal nations or governments, and the cultures are not one-to-one. That's the problem with most fantasy maps, right? This spot is this culture, this nation, this ethnic group.
Yeah.
Then we cross a border and wham, it's all different. It's not like that. Here he has them overlapping nicely in ways that make sense, as you may see as we get going. But each one has a very powerful cultural template for character creation. So what we do first, before we get going, we back off and say, wait, let's think a little bit. We are talking about cities that are violent, corrupt, fascinating, and rich. We are talking about cultural traditions with 1,000 years of history and bad feelings wherever you go. We are talking about the magic is deep and dark and frightening. There's no friendly magic really at all.
It's more Conan.
Very Conan.
Yep.
And he has read the original Howard stories, and you can tell. They are not. This is not movie Conan. This is really
the slow process.
dangerous. And a person can be heroic, and a person can even be good. But you will stand out in either case. You will stand out to be either heroic or good. So far so good. And then we have to decide as a group what are the basic ideas for our game. For the one single idea that we have to accept to play the basic game to start is the demons are coming. This world is basically doomed, except for perhaps some remarkable thing that the characters may achieve. But the default is that the world is doomed. The demons are closer and closer, more and more powerful, more and more connected to what humans are worried about and angry about or grieving about, and the demons are exploiting this. We don't really even know what they are or anything like that. Maybe they don't even try. Maybe they are only evil because they connect with us. Who cares? It's bad for us.
But we are the few things that bring hope to this world.
You may or may not be. It depends. This is a very existential game. You could even be the catalyst that destroys it. It's extremely existential in this fashion. We don't know what your role toward it will be. And so the question then is, what are we going to talk about for our situation of play? Would you like to play adventurers on a ship that explore the unknown or go and trade around from island to island? Do you want to be in the deep and dark swamps and fiend-haunted forests of this area? Do you want to be part of do you want to be a saint? One of you be a saint in the church. Not everybody has to be from the same culture, but you will be in that situation. And so we will know, and so we will have some idea what kind of drama. We don't have to say too much, but should this be a drama about the crimes of the past? Should it be about young people who have found each other in a dangerous situation and are coming together? What is the basic idea for us in a game like this? Are you a hardened band of mercenaries? Are you a wizard and his friends? So think a little bit. You won't get there by making up characters. We have to kind of have a basic idea together. It's a big question, but keeping it easier is better.
I guess the first question is, are we good or are we evil?
That is a very good question for this game. You will discover through character creation that you will make a choice about your character's upbringings, and you will discover that your soul has already darkened before play has begun. Which may make you not evil outright, but you now have something called a blight, and you now are more vulnerable to many things. If you have a blight, for example, it empowers the other players to attack you, let you know when your blight applies. So if you have a terrible case of jealousy or something like that, this is not just jealousy. This is something that the demons can enter through. And it means the other players can say, right now is a good time for you to be jealous. So blights actually affects the way we play.
Kind of, at the same time as we play our characters, we play demons at the same time.
I would say you recognize the influence upon one another, yes. Oh. You don't really play a demon character.
No, but we make some choice for them.
That's right.
Okay. Then I ask, the more question is, what would be fun?
That's exactly right.
That is the first and most... to be honest, the pirate theme sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm just thinking on a ship somewhere.
But that is me.
Pirate, trading...
Can be both.
Envoy.
Pirates, wasn't necessarily pirates.
Right. But I love sea adventures myself.
Pirates or the steppe?
Yeah, the Mongols.
Yeah, what is the final
step?
It's the step.
Oh,
yeah.
It's step there.
It's the step.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking going complete warlord, doing Genghis all over the place again.
Also,
That would be really fun too.
also thinking more of not pirates, but rather
Raiders, entrepreneurs. The Mongols was very, very intelligent, and they recognize knowledge.
Yeah.
So they were the greatest siege
Let's take a look at
army
what the
ever made, almost.
let's
Crazy.
take a look at the cultures in this context of description. So if you were to if we go with the Sea Raider thing, the most obvious would be among the northern barbarian
Yeah.
sorts.
The Vikings.
He has very rich paragraphs. And so I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Give me
and
just a
I'm-
moment to talk.
Yeah, and I'm thinking for myself now, but
There.
I think we should go away from the standard Viking
Yeah.
because of where we
Well,
are from.
we are a little tired of that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I actually assume those would be the pirates.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
you were right. That's where I'm going right now.
They
in
are
my-
more of
Yeah.
1700s,
Yes.
1800s Caribbean.
Let's
Yes.
take a look at what it tells us about this. These people, they are actually ethnically connected to the Tyrians.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in fact, they came from the far west and settled in these islands and ethnically kind of blended onto the continent.
Okay.
So the ones on the islands are a little more foreign looking than everybody else on the inland. And the home, given an individual's home is their island, the place of their births. Each island in the main island is a home to a piece of society and government. There are several main islands, so there's no single central island,
No.
or there's all
Yeah.
these little kingdoms. Here
Instead
and
of
there.
city-states, they're island states.
Correct. Yes. But they are very similar in that there's this one place and people are born there and they identify with it. And there is, of course, Gold Harbor, which is one of the wealthiest places in the world. You have another island which has one of the great homes of philosophy. And they are bound by freedom and other times by shame. From birth through adolescence, women and men both are servants of the people, gaining education, learning how to perform ceremonies, training with spear and shield. So this is a society where everybody is expected to contribute
Yeah.
to the polis, the people in the group. And furthermore, they are not given titles. There are no lords. They are taught people are only as good as the glory they win. So a person with lots of glory gets lots of followers and then is privileged.
Come back with shield on it.
And not only that, but then you have your son grow up and you say, well, he should have all my privilege, and then everybody else disagrees and comes to kill him. So that's, so dynasties don't really continue very easily. And so, yes, and justice is left to families and mediators. And this is kind of Nordic, really, compromises between parties and coins trading palms. Otherwise, it's chopped hands, gouged eyes, execution, or exile. Sounds
Do you
pretty
remember
familiar.
that
Yeah.
the oldest text about law
Mhm.
is from the
Oh,
Middle
yes.
East, and they talk about eye for an eye. So
Oh, yes, they do. Yes.
it's
And so
Just one question. Are we in these islands now, or are we about the...
Yeah.
I'm discussing these islands.
Yes.
the Gothic,
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you would, this is a good way to think about it. It gives meditations for each culture. And these are actually mechanics, okay, that everybody would have if they're from this culture. Philosophy and truth. Glory is the road to awe. The sea in all her majesty, and wine like a river flows. These are the things you invoke as you play a character from this culture. So if we go to, on the other hand, all the way over to Kreka, we have a different, as I described, this is a violent land with much wilderness and storms and rocky ground and things like that. And it's another very free culture in the sense that there is no real government across the whole area or rule of law in that sense, although law in a local place is very strongly enforced by the people who live there.
Yeah.
And so let's see. Ruins are vast, cities are not. Most people are nomads. The Storm Mount is treated as a capital where people come and gather on a regular basis and arrive at agreements and things like that. They are
It's a central marketplace.
right, correct, and the horses are treated pretty much like people, and then they also are noted throughout the lands for their bow fighting on horseback and their lance fighting, as you might expect. They create formidable bands of fighters. And so to give you an idea, here they have the altar of spit and ale. And by spit, they're referring to the cooking device, I think. And so then they have free riding, heartbreaking blue skies, open steppes and wind in the hair, storms of rage and memory. So these are the two cultures that we are looking at. Again, you don't have to, your character can be from another culture, but if we are in one of those places, then they are there for some reason that we will find out. So some thoughts on what kind of story or what kind of, well, which one people like and what kind of story. Do you want to go with a ship? We could be in Croatia.
What are you thinking
what do you
of
think?
this? I was thinking warlords, but you were thinking something else, maybe?
No.
Horses?
Yeah.
More, they sound a bit more freer
Mhm.
than if we maybe are in the Empire or something.
That's true.
That
It's
will
pretty
be
wide open.
very political,
Correct.
and I think it's more fun to play
And they
something.
said lots of ruins.
That's right. Yes, let's have sort of a freewheeling, adventurous situation where you have lots of choices and not so much about the Duke says this and the law is that and here's your debt and stuff like that. Okay.
So then we shall ask the group as it's
A ruin scavenging.
ruin scavenging
Yeah.
band of raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because each group probably wants a little bit of an edge of some kind. And also, you're going to make some intense individuals. You'll have your own reasons.